Well, welcome everyone to another episode of AV Unplugged. I'm Mark Metzger. Really thrilled to be joined today from some of our friends at Starin. Going to be talking a little bit about broadcast AV and some of the new applications, new products, new solutions that they are going to be bringing to the broadcast AV market here very soon. So today, really thrilled to be joined by Rich D'Angelo, Chris Neto, and Jeff Barnes. Gentlemen, welcome and thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit first, maybe about some of the trends. Obviously, there are a lot of conversations going on about the ways that the broadcast world and the AV worlds are kind of colliding right now. Obviously, that was really accelerated by the pandemic. Chris, as someone who is obviously pretty well known through the AV community, why don't you talk to us a little bit about what are some of the things that you've been seeing in terms of the way those worlds are colliding and that acceleration that occurred because of the pandemic? What are some of the trends that have really caught your eye in particular that are leading to these worlds kind of merging together?
Yeah, sure. That's it's been a progress, I guess, and it's kind of happened over time. Just to go back to 2020 when everything got shut down, the hardest part in 2020 was getting people to have a laptop that they could take home. We got through that, great, awesome. And then, okay, there's a built-in little camera into your laptop. Can you turn that on when we're having our Zoom or our Microsoft? That was the next step. And then after that kind of just hung out for a little bit and people realized that we're going to be home for a little bit, that camera was just meh to begin with. So then the calls started coming in. Hey, where can we get a better camera? What cameras are out there? Companies like Jabra and Logitech stepped up. Bird Dog steps up with these USB cameras that are much better, much more improved, glass and obviously chipsets and stuff inside the cameras that are now taking a lot of pressure off the PCs. And the better camera, better apertures, all of a sudden now we're wanting a better look, right? So it naturally progressed with the camera on your PC. And as the pandemic moved along, people started really kind of getting comfortable with cameras. And that's really something that came from the pandemic. Prior to that, if you were going to have a Zoom call, if you were going to have a Microsoft Teams call for your company, 90% of the people would not turn on their camera. They were just happy with, hey, we're just going to turn on the microphone and go with that. And not to discredit the importance of audio. Audio in AV is a capital A. We do recognize that audio is important. And that is the ultimate, thing if you're recording a traditional podcast. And when I went to a recent podcast movement show, audio is still very important in that world. If you can't hear us, if you cannot make out what we're saying, then it is not important. So podcast is just one form of where this video conversations were going. But internally, companies started discussing, hey, we should have our cameras on. We should do it more often. This is how we're going to build community. This is how we're going to build team. Right? You weren't in the office, so you needed to see each other. Expressions were important and people's looks and how they talk. I'm from Jersey. I can't keep my hands stopped. They're constantly moving. It's ridiculous. So you can see that on video. And when I talk with my hands, it's obviously a lot easier. So as I personally started getting back on the road, I started noticing that our integrators were meeting again with our, with the end users, and the end users were coming with conversations about how do we make this better, right? Not just on site. So the on site, the conference rooms, how do we do that so that we get a good, kind of conversations like room equity and terms like that start popping up. Everybody wanted to use video as a way to kind of balance out that people weren't there and weren't in spaces, and the people that were on video, how do they get an equal share, right? So this is obviously top of mind. What we're going to talk about today is a result of all that. Room equity, top of mind, equal share, and having everybody look and kind of feel the same, all leading to the realization that we're finally, as an AV industry, reaching a point where video and video first is now reaching that point where we're finally accepting it, right? First was turning on the cameras. Second was getting the cameras to be better. Third was realizing that everybody kind of had to be equal and room equity. The next evolution is how do we make this part of our everyday? And that is where we really are going. Like, we're going to say media entertainment, and you're going to hear the term broadcast and different parts of it. That's because that's what you guys in the AV world are going to be the most familiar with, right? We're going to give you some comfort terms, comfort food for you guys to kind of like digest. This is nothing new, right? Broadcast media entertainment's been around for years. Taking it and bringing it into the corporate setting, taking that, bringing it into higher ed, that is where it's different. Because everybody for many years was just okay with just recording something off their computer. And if that was good enough, it was good enough. And we're starting to now take that term good enough, which is a term that I battle constantly, and we're taking that and moving it to good enough being good enough with lower thirds, good enough with a green screen, good enough with picture in picture, and good enough that it is now replacing email and messaging within the corporate space. And some of the stuff that was usually saved for out of um, some kind of rental or freelance options are now being brought inside. Technology allows us to record things that can go up into the cloud now, and that editors that are employed or contractors for the companies can go and grab that video, turn that around very quickly. AI is changing how we're doing business with translations and just automatically like cleaning up things as we move along. There's so much to be said and done, and we as a company, as Starin, we're hearing what our end users are saying. Now, obviously, we work directly with integrator partners and with manufacturers. Those are people we speak to on a day to day. But we're getting those calls and we're getting feedback from the end users that this is where they want to go, right? That the video has to move past just a webcam. We're long past that, and what you're going to hear from from the team here is what that evolution is and what opportunities and what not just opportunities from a sales perspective, but what opportunities are out there for companies to enhance their messages, right? Messaging is not just part of a just a marketing plan. Messaging is part of an HR plan. This is also part of a recruitment plan, right? It's also connecting the dots. There's no way we're going to return to office without this component. This component is now what's linking satellite offices, which were just sitting out in the middle of Topeka by themselves and reading emails. This is how we're building company culture, and we're helping companies get there by adding video and a proper video component to it. So I've said that's a lot of words said there, but I will let Rich and Jeff go into a better conversation as far as the specifics of where we're going. But yes, where we as Starin were known for our UC stuff, we saw this evolution and how we can help companies kind of develop a different form of communication. And obviously broadcast media and entertainment, that whole piece of it just kind of just came together like peanut butter and jelly. Like this just made sense, right?
Yeah.
You can add bananas if you want. That was, I know that was an Elvis thing. But
we'll save the food hot takes for another day, because I know that's a whole nother discussion.
That's a whole other discussion. So I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I digress. Go ahead.
Well, what I would be interested, it's actually as you were describing that. I mean, so much of it applies to Avixa, right? I mean, we have an office space, but after the pandemic, we were sort of hybrid. We definitely still have a presence in our office, but we're also a global association. So, I mean, you mentioned Topeka, but it's not just for companies who are, might be regionally based and just are hybrid, but there are international workforces now, especially. I think that's something else the pandemic has accelerated is you don't necessarily have to work in a specific city in order to be a part of a company now. And so it just feels like the need to deliver that messaging that you were talking about, it conquers geography, it conquers different, expectations in terms of, like the younger workforce coming in and just being more digital and video savvy. Right.
Yeah.
Rich, I'd be really interested to hear from you in terms of what are some of those maybe specific content needs that you're hearing from some of your end users out there? What are they looking to do? What are they looking to accomplishment? What are they looking to accomplish? And how do they see this as a tool in the tool chest, so to speak?
Yeah, as Chris was saying, that leap from good enough, and this is what we need to be able to communicate at all in 2020 to 5 years later. Well, okay, how do we up the production value of the content we're delivering? Again, whether it's a corporation with its employees or a school delivering lectures or a house of worship delivering its services to a congregation, how do we take this experience and make it more TV-like, like what we're accustomed to seeing on network TV? And what we look at that as, okay, so what kind of technologies are used to deploy for TV, right? I mean, how can we bring those to the world of broadcast AV? And that's really what we've tried to do in building out our broadcast and media and entertainment business unit here at Starin. Is let's take a look at a complete video production workflow. There's acquisition, there's storage, there's management of the media, there's editing and enhancement of the video, and then there's ultimately delivery. So what technologies can we bring in here to provide to our system integrators and VARs to allow a broad spectrum of end users to deploy those technologies at whatever scale they want to and however they want to deliver it? And likewise, what infrastructure do we build internally so that we can help not just our sales team, but also our system integrators and VARs, and ultimately the end user to support deploying these technologies? So, I mean, what we've done in that regard, on one hand, we brought in the products to complete those workflows. On the other, we've also organized resources internally so that we have experts in broadcast subject matter. So when our sales team is going out and discovering a customer that's looking to deploy these technologies to up the production value of their video, they know that they can bring in an expert team to help navigate how to best deploy those technologies based on that customer's specific requirements.
Yeah. What Jeff, maybe would love to hear from you in terms of what has the evolution. Okay, so Starin has seen this opportunity, hearing more about the needs. Talk to me a little bit about maybe some of the specific products and things that Starin's been able to add to the portfolio to provide the solutions that some of those end users are looking for.
Yeah, I think it works backwards from the traditional AV products that are already sort of on the line card that Starin's helped their partners with for a long time now. So pan tilt zoom cameras and microphones, speaker sets, display technology. Those are what you'd think is the traditional AV set of products. And then as Chris was mentioning, getting into the conference layer. But as we move forward in how everyone consumes media, everybody's a little bit more comfortable with that idea of the podcaster or the self-driven broadcaster per se. So it's been a mix of things that we've brought on board that are at the high level, traditional broadcast solutions that you might find in a sports environment, call letter TV station, all the way down to what are the simple, easy to use boxes and solutions that help me stream to my live platform, YouTube or Facebook. And really what we're putting together is a line card that fits all those gaps in between. Rich and I have been involved with a product called Edit Share, which is, really traditionally a multi-seat content collaboration storage platform, asset management platform. So, we have all these acquisition pieces of the puzzle, but what is the back-end management and deliverable systems that we're starting to add and round out? So things like Cinedeck, Telestream, we've added on some of these brands in the last year or so. House of Worship is really the vertical market that it's the best example of how diverse the budgets can be. So you've got the simplest of maybe one camera in the back of the room and a sound system, but they still want to get that live stream out to, their YouTube channel. That can be a pretty simple solution, but you just have to have that encoding technologies, and we've added that. And then that budget in House of Worship can go all the way up to what I call the Dr. Phil level solution of, hundreds of thousands of dollars of cameras and storage solutions and switcher applications. So we're really trying to mix, all those levels together for our partners to be able to get more involved in what they can provide for their customers. That's really the goal for Starin, is to help AV partners that might, that have been traditionally hanging speakers on the wall, to really supply more solutions for their customers, to say, we can go past this and help you really, and as Chris said, dress up your content more and make it look a little more professional.
Yeah. Chris, maybe talk to me a little bit as well about that evolution from the AV integrators perspective, because I would imagine, I mean, the pandemic was not that long ago, and we've seen just tremendous strides and changes. How is our AV industry, I guess, evolving with it? Are there still areas where we need to grow, we need to learn? Or, just talk to me a little bit about what that transition has been like for AV.
Sure, sure. I think the biggest thing and as somebody who's constantly on the road and in front of different speakers and different shows and presentations regarding the return to office has probably been the most convoluted thing I've ever sat through. And honestly, I'm speaking from my own personal, just depends on what conference and what seminar I'm listening to. Either we're back or we're not. It depends on what part of the country you're at. You're back or you're not. State to state, it's different. There is no consistency as far as the return. Nobody just got up on April 1st and went back to work, right? Things just are not that way. So what you have is you have integrators that are like start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. Are you going? Are they not going? They're receiving purchase orders. They're like, we're going to fix this office, but we're not coming back just yet. Let's fix the office, but let's start in a month. And then that month is pushed back. Some are doing it immediately. The return to office has been such a start, stop operation that I think that a lot of people are just frustrated with, oh my God, we returned to office last year, but it's only at, 20% capacity. Well, if anything that I've learned on any of my tours and stuff that I've been around is that the leases are what controls this whole thing. So what are we starting to see? We're starting to see the repurposing of spaces. So that one corner office that is not being used, or that one facility that wasn't, maybe it's being turned into a little broadcast production studio, because they can get more value from that little corner space. And when we're talking broadcast production space, you can create something in a 10 by 10 or 20 by 20, which used to be, much bigger, much beefier space necessary to do that kind of stuff. The way the technology has moved, and with a lot of the cloud-based solutions, you can turn a former, executive office into a sit-down recording little space very easily. If you want to see how that can happen, just follow what we do at any of our trade shows. We bring a product called AV On Air. It's just our, basic idea of what a studio can be in any given space. Turn a small conference room into an on-air space, right? And 3 people in that space can do two presenting and 1 person running a board. We've proven that. We've done it both at ISC and at Infocom, and we have a track record of doing that. We've been doing it longer than we've actually had the media broadcast space in place. So we kind of got this figured out. So helping companies kind of figure out how to help that, right? We have a consultant liaison who's working with consultants who are basically telling them, like, listen, dedicate a little space, a little corner for this kind of stuff. We've worked with manufacturers that are in the furniture business who are just, have set up video phone booths in that space. That was the former, hey, I just need 1 person needs just a small little setup for a video conference. Now we're press and play on an Epiphan and recording that and sending it up to the cloud and letting somebody record. Things have changed, and that mindset has changed. And that's all because the return to office has completely not been as planned, regardless of what experts are out there telling you. The only people that are going to tell us about the return to office are the people that are signing and rewriting the leases in all the big spaces. New York City is still not 100% back to capacity. God knows where San Francisco is today. And these were kind of like, those were the coast to coast barometers of where things were going. Even San Jose is having issues as far as like how people are going back. But one thing is definite: communication has not stopped. The need for communication has not stopped. The need for community within the building, or need for community within a lot of companies, has not stopped either, because every single return to office message we've heard come from big companies is all based around, hey, we need to be more interactive water coolers. And this is where we kind of think, what better way to do that than obviously with video? So video has not lost its shine. It's still having a moment. And to bring it back to the space, to have a little space carved out where we can provide some of our services. And the integrators who traditionally have built these spaces have done very well with it. It's not very hard to build these spaces. We all know that. Our engineers are not our specific engineers, but like AV engineers that work for major integrators, or any integrator for that matter. in the UC space, UC has gotten very commoditized to the point where they're just basically looking at it and going, you can hang a monitor on the wall and that becomes your video system. Guess what? Studios are bringing back AV, audio, video, lighting, control. The foundations of what our what industry has been founded on is now back in place, because it's not everybody who's going to figure out the proper lighting, right? You need to understand how to properly light a subject if you're going to record, and obviously soundproofing and sound, making sure the sound stays within the room. Like, this is all what we went to school for. This is what our nerds are all about, right? And we're getting them back to work doing the stuff that they know and like, outside of just, hey, just mount that TV on the wall. No disrespect to the UC space. It is still obviously a viable vertical, but there is more that can be done using the internal staff you have, including these, building out these little studio production spaces. And we're not talking about production trucks. We're not turning this into, into WAB, ABC or NBC or CBA. You don't have to be any of that stuff. You're not rolling in production trucks. These things can be made portable. Speaking to Jeff, obviously Jeff is more of our engineer guy who knows how to put the things together. He can tell you that these things can be made fit into a small little rack solution or something that is actually the size of a briefcase. If you want, it can completely be virtual. So there are different options and different strokes for different folks. So the opportunity for adding this into your arsenal, if you are an integrator, is endless. You've always built the spaces. You're good at that. You can get back to putting your engineers doing those fun things. But the one thing that will separate what we do from the others, and anybody can sell you a camera and anybody can sell you editing, bays or tables to do your editing work. That's all great. But what do you do when all that's set up? That's the difference, is that there are, obviously as a service models for this production facility stuff that is post studio life, right? Think beyond just the physical buy of this physical space. We can do that. That's great. But what are you going to do? That content is being created. What are they doing with it? And that's where we can assist, because it has to be edited. It has to be stored. It has to be delivered, right? Rich said it much better than I did as far as the, how a production facility is run, the workflows. AV workflow stops at the physical install. We want to let you know that there is life after that physical install. So.
Yeah. So actually, Rich, talk to me a little bit about that. What are, because that's, I think part of this evolution is not just from AV perspective, we install, we're done, we're out. But there's more that can go beyond that now, right? Rich? Talk to me about some of the opportunities and the products, I guess, that Starin is going to be bringing to the table now that enable AV integrators to continue to be a part of the solution moving forward.
Yeah, no, as Chris was saying, after that content is actually recorded, I mean, there's a whole spectrum of activities that can take place in terms of storing that content, repurposing that content, editing and enhancing that content. So, for example, as Jeff mentioned, we're partnered with EditShare for shared storage and media asset management. Great platform for allowing collaboration for finding media. We work with another company, Telestream, which is the heart of what they do is transcoding and automation. So you can take that media and flip it to all sorts of different formats for different distribution channels. And then we also have a full spectrum of digital content creation software. We have a software division, Toolfarm, which Starin acquired a few years ago. And this really gives our integrators, resellers access to a broad range of video editing software, graphics software, special effects software, 3D software, a whole range of tools that can be used to enhance video and really create something special and memorable. So it's through all these additional opportunities and really post-production. So that's really the one step is you're setting up a video production workflow. You're able to accomplish your goals. And if you really want to bring it to the next level, we have that full suite of post-production tools that maybe a client may not on day one be ready for that, but it's an opportunity to have a conversation over time and see how that client can deliver more value to those who are consuming their content, and for the integrator to help their client discover those opportunities.
Yeah. And Chris, we were talking previously about this. I think the thing that should probably be noted as well for the AV industry is there's an opportunity to generate more revenue beyond just the install, right? I mean, these are tools that can be used and go. So talk a little bit about that as well, because that's obviously a very important piece of the puzzle here.
Recurring revenue is something that we struggle with as an industry, because we are either we're doing warranties. That's our recurring revenue. Well, I'm about to say or. There's no other or. It's pretty much we do warranty work. That's our recurring revenue in the traditional AV space, right? Repair work, service calls, and warranty work. But no, that is not the only thing that's left out there. As a service, obviously, is a tough one to put a handle on for a lot of folks. But we can provide content storage as a service. We can provide the service of editing as a service. That's all they're using different products and models that are out there. We work with companies like Avid. We work with Cinedeck. We work with Telestream. These are all known industries in that specific vertical. So to a lot of folks, maybe it's that introduction that they need, right? Some of them are obviously big names. Obviously, a lot of people know Avid. If you've ever worked in any capacity in any sort of broadcast studio, that name is synonymous with broadcast, right? But there may be other companies that you're not familiar with that are major players in the space in this world. Going to NAB, you will, if you do go to those types of shows, you will come across these major players in the space, which are, maybe in the traditional AV world is not something we're used to, but you will begin to learn more about KillerView. You're going to learn more about Telestream and what can be done with them, and Cinedeck. So we're looking to help. The recurring revenue part is something that is not easy to. When you're dealing with nuts and bolts and things that come off the shelf, when you tell the folks that there is a product that you can sell that requires a contract and that it will just generate the money for you if this is possible, you sign a contract and the money just keeps coming every quarter or every month. And it's because the service that's being provided is top notch. We're not selling you vaporware. We're selling you actual tools that you can and physically will use, and not storing them on site because they're cloud-based makes life a lot easier, to be honest with you. Not only on the customer who is now, agreeing to do this, but it's taking the stress off their network, stress off their people. You're not having to go through that approval process to, oh my God, we got to bring in another product and IT security's got to go through it. Yes, there are the security issues that you're going to go through to kind of access that in the cloud, but not owning it, physically owning it, just having the licensing part of it makes life a lot easier. And in this day and age, technology and software changes so rapidly. To have that control, believe it or not, it actually puts more control into the end user, than it is physically purchasing something and putting it on site. So that kind of flexibility is, I think a desired thing these days, more so than pre-pandemic, because you start today down this road. What are you going to do when it changes, right? Or so if something changes, or you want to add another piece to it and you don't want to be locked into something. And we've all seen, where a company has locked themselves into these massive, crazy contracts with physical hardware gear on site that they can't break, or to break costs millions. Right? We're talking about doing service that starts and generates in the cloud, and it is a recurring thing. Like you turn on your lights, you want electricity, pay for it, and you have electricity. Magically, it happens. So I think that's a good way to put it. Rich, did I surmise it? Kind of. I did very simple summary of it, but I'm sure you could probably go a little more in depth with it.
No, those are really great points, and I think there's a lot of advantages for everyone in this kind of idea of term-based licensing or consumption. One, it makes things very predictable. So whenever major new technologies become available, instead of something you kind of bought as a one-time purchase, 2 or 3 years ago, versus now with this type of model, everything that's new, basically can be either added, or maybe it's part of what you already agreed to. From the integrator and VAR side, this kind of term-based recurring revenue model really allows you to have conversations with the client on a more ongoing basis. It's not that you made a sale and if the phone rings when there's a problem 6 or 7 months from now or a couple years from now. It's really an ongoing conversation that the model kind of forces in a good way. And it really cements everyone together and allows everyone to stay more in tune with what's new and, what kind of service can I deliver on an ongoing basis. Again, it's also much more predictable from the end user perspective. Again, if you want to deploy a major new technology after you've made kind of like a one-time purchase, it's usually a much lower, upfront what your costs are going to be from year to year to be invested in that product family. And it's very helpful from a budgeting perspective.
Yeah. Jeff, one last question for you before we wrap up here. Want to think about, you had talked about some of the different applications, how you can, range from very simple, like you were saying, house of worship, whether it's just not tremendous budgets or one camera setups and things, but you have corporations who are looking to do bigger productions, have larger budgets. Where should someone start? Thinking about the end user, if they want to increase the quality of their corporate communications or house of worship, whatever it may be, where would be a good place for them to start? And just in terms of some of the questions maybe they should ask themselves as they begin to make some decisions on which path to take.
Yeah, we talk to our own sales people about these strategies as well to say, hey, if someone's ordering 3 pan-tilt zoom cameras, the next question is, are they recording those? Where are they storing those? What are you doing with those? What is your process? What is the content? And that tends to get the conversation rolling. And, as I was listening to the other comments here, I think the common thing with AV folks is, all of these technologies are going more and more IP based. And I think it's the obvious glue of this discussion, right? Is that we're pulling less baseband wire in these projects, and it opens up our AV partners to be more comfortable because most of everything is just sitting on the network with an IP address. So, short of a microphone on the front end and a speaker on the back end, every device, in the plant can be on a network switch. And that's a lot of our discussion too about our partners, is to say, these become lighter infrastructures for the customer to have more flexibility to add things on as needed. You're not having to, gut racks of equipment and patch panels and, audio video routing type things. It's, do we have enough ports on the switch? So it opens our partners up to just more, engagement to say, these are light layers that you can add at any point, and you're not in a wholesale, rewire or reinstallation. And then talking about us as a team, our partners, we're marketing ourselves as such, as a lot of these technologies are consultative and scope based. So they're not SKUs in a warehouse and in stock or not all of them. Some are, but some of these are a little bit longer sales cycle. We're here to engage in that conversation with the customers and our partners so that they don't have to own all of the technology. They may be complex technologies that they want to apply or get involved with. We have a team, myself, Rich, and some other folks on our vertically focused broadcast team that are really designed to engage our partners, engage our customers, to say, get on the phone. We'll help you find your way there. So it is, the merging is not just product based, it's knowledge based as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear. Chris, if people want more information about where this transformation maybe is heading, or more information about some of the services that Starin offers, where could they find that information?
First place to start, Starin.biz, obviously, is our website. That's a good place to start. But if you want to get down to the specifics, connect with Rich, connect with Jeff. They are the voice of our broadcast vertical, media entertainment vertical. So they can speak the best about it. If you see me on the road, I will gladly be able to give you a quick overview of what's going on. But I'm more the hype man, right? I'm here to let you know that this is definitely something that is coming, and that it is a viable opportunity for our integrators and partners to be in. And I will be the biggest cheerleader for it, though that's not my everyday responsibility. I am a big fan of what is happening in this space, And if I believe in it, then I'm going to sit there and support it. So that's kind of an important thing for me. Watching these companies evolve from, to me, I'm fascinated how companies have evolved from a little webcam on their laptop to, putting on the bigger shows, right? Those kind of, we've always talked about experiential, right? Experiential also is a look and feel to it. It's an important visual part of things, right? You can't be experiential if you're just recording something and not adding a little fun to it. So get more fun. It's easy. Find us. You can find us on LinkedIn. You can find us on Starin.biz. Specifically, Rich, Jeff, you want to put, where can people find you guys?
We have an email address at starinbroadcast@starin.biz. That's a good place where the whole team will see it, and we're happy to field any questions and engage in any conversations for deploying these technologies.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Great.
And we're not afraid to use it. We actually eat our own dog food. We actually use our own products in-house. We do what we do, and we are not ashamed to say it, that we are becoming bigger and better at using the stuff that we also use our own products. That's the important part.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, it's great to hear, especially from us on the Avixa TV side. I mean, really, Chris, so much of what you were describing is what Avixa has even gone through in terms of the change to remote workplaces, and even with the growth in Avixa TV, things like that. So really very fascinating to speak with you all about it, because we're seeing and living that evolution firsthand as well on this side of things. So
I have a feeling you're going to see more of us on the Avixa TV side as well, because obviously we need to get out to the folks the messaging, and what better way to do it than, obviously, what better way to communicate to the industry folks than to get in with the industry association and let them know what we're seeing, because you know what, sometimes it's more about the education of it, right? A lot of people like to talk about trends, but where are those trends really coming from? And being out on the road, and obviously the three of us are obviously immersed in this space. So understanding that there is a future in it, beyond just, some flash in the pan type thing. This one's going to stick around. I don't think it's going to go away. I don't think it's something, it's one of those things where, the toothpaste is out of the tube and you can't put it back in. People do not want to go back to crappy video anymore. It's now elevated, and that's where we're going. And that's what we're going to help you guys do, is understand how to do that and how to provide that, or develop, or at least convey that to your end user customers, so that it is doable. It's not scary.
Yep. And important to know where your resources are, right? So feel free to reach out to Rich, reach out to Jeff, reach out to Chris via any social media network. I know for me, that's one of my first go-tos, is if I've got a question about something in a specific area, I always like to know kind of who are those people that I can reach out to directly. So thank you to the three of you, really, Rich, Jeff, Chris, for taking the time just to be with us, talk through this evolution. Like I said, really interesting to hear the ways that Starin is going to be moving into this space. And thank you all for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.